been about putting the country I love first. That is why I will resign as leader of the Labour Party. I have spoken to His Majesty the King this morning to inform him of my decision.
Hi, hello, what's up? Great news, everybody. Keir Starmer finally resigned, which, I'm just gonna be honest, was gonna happen no matter what. Especially after the whole, I can't use the word of YouTube, the grape allegations started to come out. The grooming gangs. Yeah, the grooming gangs. The grape gangs in the UK, which the UK's police, the government, Keir Starmer knew about for years. But because they're more afraid of being called racist than, third world Muslims and terrorists, let's be honest, that's what they are. They're more afraid of being called racist than having third worlders attack their young women and children and babies. Oh yeah, babies. Because I'm just gonna say it. That's why he's resigning. We were never supposed to learn about that at all. Which is disgusting, and it shows you how evil these people are. I mean, later, and it don't even matter who replaces him, because the same thing. That same party allowed millions of people, women, young girls, children, their own people, to get attacked, brutalized, unalived, bye-bye, turned it off. And for what? Political power. That's all. It was all for political power. That's it. And yeah, that's disgusting. And that's why he's gone. And it don't really matter who replaces him. But unless it's a populace. Because that's really the only thing that can save the UK. You do not want to be Canada right now. Like, look, after Carney got elected, there's nothing to be proud about Canadian anymore. I mean, they can't even say they're the best at hockey anymore. Well, that's what you get when you get a globalist as your president. You lose all your sovereignty and national identity, and that's it. Hopefully the UK don't make the same mistake as Canada, LA. Well, I don't really think they chose LA. I think they cheated. But further ado, let's get into this.
We begin this morning with a Fox News alert, and it's a big one. Just moments ago, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer resigning after mounting pressure from the Labour Party and the public.
My party is asking now is whether I am best placed to lead us into the next general election. I have heard the answer of my parliamentary party to that question, and I accept that answer with good grace. Every decision I've taken has been about putting the country I love first. That is why I will resign as leader of the Labour Party.
You are watching Fox and Friends First on this Monday morning. I'm Ashley Strohmeyer filling in for Carly Shimkus.
And I'm Todd Pyro. Let's bring in Fox News senior correspondent Benjamin Hall to react, give us the latest information. And Benjamin, look, we've been talking about Starmer resigning for months now. Then it seemed to go away, at least here in the States, for a couple of months. What happened in the last week that led Keir Starmer to officially resign?
Yes, I mean, look, everyone knew it was coming at some point. The question was when. And what happened in the last week specifically is this other Labour candidate called Andy Burnham, who is the mayor of Manchester, finally won a seat in Parliament. He was effectively someone stood down to allow him to do that, and he is widely considered to be the next contender. But you're right, you look back over the last few months and you have had countless U-turns by Keir Starmer. You've had local elections in which the Labour Party were decimated by a lot of other parties, by reform in particular. And of course you had Peter Mandelson, who was the man that Keir Starmer picked to become ambassador to America. And it turned out he had close relationships with Jeffrey Epstein, hadn't disclosed them, and Keir Starmer knew that when he put him in place. So all of these different things had been building, but it was the appointment of Andy Burnham, who is widely expected to be the next Labour leader and then the next Prime Minister in the last week, that really made the move. But look, the next Prime Minister will be the 7th Prime Minister in 10 years here in the UK. It has been a decade of constant overhaul, and the party, the country, just can't seem to decide which way it wants to go.
Ben, that was my question. I mean, this kickstarts, this process for the country to see, as you said, the 7th leader in a decade. That's a lot of turnover. That is an ever-revolving door. What does that mean historically for the country, and really, what does it mean, for the time being right now?
Well, yes, if you went back 20 years, you know, much like the US, every prime minister was in place for 5 years and there was another election, and it was like that for decades and decades. Well, that has changed dramatically. What we expect to see now, and Keir Starmer said it in his resignation speech, is that a new contest will begin on July the 9th, and he will stay prime minister till then. Now, the Labour Party will pick the next Prime Minister because they're the party that was voted in. And there are a couple of other candidates who might run for it as well. There's West Streeting is the main one at the moment. But Andy Burnham has been talking to West Streeting, and it appears as if they might be doing a deal with Andy Burnham's telling this other man, if you stand down, I'll give you one of the plum roles in my government. Now, that means that it would be considered an appointment, that the party won't have voted for the next Prime Minister, and that upsets many people. So either you have these candidates running against each other, which frankly hurts the party because they all criticise each other for 2 months, or else you pick one person in this case, and many people criticise that as being a coronation. So either way, there's going to be criticism of just moving on to a new leader without the country itself having elected him.
Ben, a face familiar to the Fox audience, of course, is Nigel Farage. Was this move done with an eye toward eventually staving off a Nigel Farage prime ministership?
100%. In the local elections that took place in May, the Labour Party lost across the country to Nigel Farage's Reform Party. They are right now the biggest party in the UK. And they came from nowhere the last couple of years. Now, in the by-election that took place just a week or so ago, in which Andy Burnham won, he did surprisingly well against reform. And so many people in the Labour Party are saying, well, wow, this might be the one person who can push back against Nigel Farage and his party. And that is why they have pushed against Keir Starmer. That's why they forced him to resign, because they think that this guy, Andy Burnham, might be the one person who can fight back against Nigel Farage. But still, you look at the figures right now, and the Reform Party, Nigel Farage, has a clear, if there was a general election, has a clear path to victory. So there are 2 more years till there has to, 3 more years almost, till there has to be a general election in the UK. So whoever comes in next could just keep waiting, and stay in power that long. But that comes down to who wins this by-election, how they choose the next leader. Will they force that general election to be sooner? The sooner it is, the more chance Nigel Farage has of becoming the next or the second future Prime Minister.
Ben, do you foresee this changing the framework in how the rest of the world operates with this, or do you think this is just going to stick with the country?
Well, look, you look around other countries in Europe and they've seen quite a lot of flipping as well, of prime ministers as well. There seems to be a change right now, particularly I would say with middle-level countries who don't quite know where they stand. I will say when we look at the world, you have to see how Keir Starmer, his relationship with President Trump, because frankly the most important thing that the UK does at the moment is shore up its special relationship with America. Now, Keir Starmer began with a really quite strong relationship with President Trump. They are on different sides of the political spectrum. You know, Keir Starmer and the Labour Party had left. President Trump is a Republican. So they are on either side. But after the beginning, and Keir Starmer came to the White House, the Oval Office, he gave President Trump a formal invitation to the second state visit. It was the first time a president had been given that. The relationship was close. They seemed really close friends. And then that started to fall apart. And you know, it really led up to the Iran conflict, where Keir Starmer refused to help, would not allow any air bases to be used at first, was not giving UK military support to the US. And that is when it really broke. And President Trump really started talking quite strongly against Keir Starmer. And what was remarkable was that just yesterday, President Trump put out on Truth Social, Keir Starmer is going to resign, before anyone else knew. So whether or not Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, had let President Trump know in advance and President Trump leaked that, it was a remarkable thing for President Trump to be the first world leader to say Keir Starmer is about to resign. But the big question is, what will the next Prime Minister, what relationship will he have with President Trump? And if it's Andy Burnham, well, he is going to move further to the left over here. The Labour Party like him because he's going to be far more liberal. And in fact, the bond markets, by the way, are jumping when he was voted into the by-election. So it's tough to see how he's going to have a closer relationship with President Trump than Keir Starmer did. And that isn't going to be great for the UK, because it's our relationship with the US that gives the UK so much strength, so much support.
And we're going to get more into the U.S.-UK relationship now that Keir Starmer has resigned, with Steve Yates coming up in a few minutes. Benjamin Hall, great insight, great reporting. We appreciate your time this morning on this historic morning.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.
Yes, and this is really good news, and I can tell you why he did it. 2 reasons. We were not supposed to learn about Henry. You know, the kid who went bye-bye, turn it off because the cops. You know, because a Muslim that was not supposed to be there, but, you know, Starmer let in because he needed their vote to stay in power. Well, his party. He stabbed the kid, and the kid went running to the cops for help. The cops said that the cops did not believe him when he said that he was stabbed, said that he was being racist, so they blocked him up in the police car, and then he went bye-bye, turning it off, screaming for help. And then the cops went about the man who made him go bye-bye, turned it off, dinner. And, you know, the grooming gang report that Starmer and his whole party was doing everything they can in their power to hide for years. Because in Starmer's lead, he didn't release it. He knew that there were a lot of hundreds, probably millions, honestly, of young girls, of children who were being tortured, attacked, and just vandalized by third worldly Muslims, and they refused to do anything about it because of identity politics. That's it. They cared more about optics of being called racist than stopping third world Muslims from attacking and sacrificing their own young girls, and that's why. And it was only a matter of time, because if he didn't step down and he kept ruling the same way he was, the UK was definitely going to go to civil war. And it was going to be bad. Oh, and he definitely cannot stay in that country because the UK people are going to lynch him. I'm not saying lynch him. I'm not saying, but it's going to. Because when you think about history, what's the first thing they do in Europe whenever they dethrone a king? And yeah, he can't stay there. He's going to be public enemy number one because the people of the UK see him as a traitor to his nation. He knows he can't go into the streets by himself. He knows exactly what will happen. And him as a private citizen means that he will definitely not get any protection. So yeah, he will have to go. He'll have to go to like some commie nation. Don't come to the U.S. We don't want your kind here. And further ado, we have to listen to his resignation speech where he just he lies and goes on like a Joe Biden thing. Where he sounds exactly like Joe Biden, but no one's really caring or listening to it because we all know it's nonsense. Because like, no joke. He talks about how he made everything so great, so why is he resigning?
Thank you. Thank you. Walking up this street 2 years ago was the proudest moment of my life. A new Labour government, the first in 14 years. A page in our country's history turned after years of disappointment and despair. The chance to change the lives of millions of people for the better. That's what I came into politics for. The journey to that point was not easy. 6 years ago, I inherited a Labour Party that was politically, financially, and morally bankrupt. I was told time and time again that my party was finished, that we were consigned to history, that a majority at the general election, let alone a landslide majority, was impossible. But we proved those people wrong because we changed our party, ripping out the poison of anti-Semitism, restoring trust on the economy, defence and national security, and becoming a party that once again stood proudly with, not against, our national flag. The hard work of change was with a singular purpose, not power for power's sake, but to change Britain for the better, to build a fairer country with dignity and respect, where everyone is seen, everyone is valued, wealth and opportunity for all, not just the privileged few. And look at what we've achieved in just 2 years. an economy that is stronger, growing faster than our peers, wages rising faster than inflation in every single month since we came to power, investment secured, infrastructure being built, an end to austerity, with the fastest fall in NHS waiting lists for 17 years, the biggest improvement in rights for workers and renters in a generation, the biggest uplift in defence spending since the Cold War, small boat crossings falling, asylum hotels closing, protecting young people from social media, and 500,000 children being lifted out of poverty because of the choices that I made. Our reputation in the world restored, with Britain once again standing up for decency, respect, and the rule of law, securing trade deals, standing with Ukraine, standing up for our values, and rebuilding our relationship with our allies in Europe. Change promised by a Labour government, change fought for by a Labour government, change delivered by a Labour government. But I know the question being asked now is not who was best placed to change the Labour Party, to take us into power and to begin the vital work of improving lives for millions of people. Those questions have been answered. The question my party is asking now is whether I am best placed to lead us into the next general election. I have heard the answer of my parliamentary party to that question, and I accept that answer with good grace. Every decision I've taken has been about putting the country I love first. That is why I will resign as leader of the Labour Party. I have spoken to His Majesty the King this morning to inform him of my decision. I will ask the National Executive Committee of the Labour Party to set out a timetable with nominations opening on the 9th of July and completed by the summer recess. In the case of a contest, this will ensure a new leader is in place before Parliament returns in September. I will remain in post as Prime Minister until the contest is complete, and I will do everything I can to ensure an orderly handover of power. I will also give my successor my full and unequivocal support, knowing that they will inherit a Britain that is far stronger and fairer than the one I inherited 2 years ago, better prepared for the challenges ahead, and better able to ensure the Labour Party secures a second term in office. I want to thank all of those friends and colleagues who have been at my side for these past 6 years or so, for their incredible commitment, service and support. I want to thank the brilliant Number 10 staff and our country's extraordinary civil service who dedicate their lives to public service. And when I leave the biggest job in the country, I shall spend more time on the most important job, being the best husband I can to my fantastic wife, Vic, who has been a rock by my side through good times and bad, and being the best dad I can to my beautiful children, who are my pride and my joy. Thank you very much.
Yeah. That man's just evil. I'm just gonna say it. He's evil. The whole Labour Party evil. Especially when he started talking about children. Again, you know who probably would have preferred their kids to, not have been brutalized, sacrificed by Muslims that you allowed in? Yeah, he's evil. The whole party is there evil. And honestly, it is a good thing that the British people started to wake up, because it was only like, I bet you, a few more years until the Muslims would have started to try to, you know, do mass bye-bye, turn it off on all the whites, just like they did in Syria, Egypt, Lebanon, Iran, any place where Muslims at, because, Muslims are the #1 colonizers. Yeah, them saying it's whites, that's a big lie. There are more colonized lands in the world by Muslims than anywhere else. Like Iran. Iran was never Muslim. It was never Islamic. They conquered it. And now the Persian people, they're taking it back. And that's what the terrorists are pissed. And I'm going to finish this, but going to Pastor the Bible really does make sense right now. Satan thrown out of heaven, and war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought with the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought, but they did not prevail, nor was a place found for them in heaven any longer. So the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who deceived the whole world. He has cast to the earth, and his angels were cast out of him. That one I had a thought, because, yeah, that's what happened. The demons who were in charge of governments are finally getting out, because they know they're demons, because that's what they are. And that's it. Thank you for coming. This has been Navigator. Please come back.